Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you. So in today's video, we're going to be rocking the new Sky Striker build once again. This time I decided to just mess around with it a little bit after reaching Diamond 1, and as I alluded to in the last video, I honestly regret hitting Diamond 1 in this format. I have it the last couple of months, and I kind of forgot just how quickly people concede once you hit Diamond 1, and that can make it rather difficult to get material for videos sometimes. So I think in future seasons I'm going to be doing what I did mostly before, just kind of definitely getting to Diamond every season at the very least, but just kind of hanging out in Diamond, I think, for the most part, is where I like to chill. So, yeah, we're rocking Sky Strikers. This is still the kind of quote-unquote pure build. This is like a going second OTK focus build with I think, honestly, most builds should probably be playing 3 Linkage anyway, even if you're not, focused on OTKing, but this build is definitely a little bit more focused in that, just with certain card choices, like mainly Lightning Storm, and also the Surgical Striker H.A.M.P to an extent as well. This card is not completely, I don't know, I think I might have written it off a bit too quickly in the last video. There were a lot of comments that made some pretty good points about the usage of this card. I did underestimate how searchable it is. That is fair, that the searchability of the kaiju definitely can make up for the fact that you have to control a Sky Striker Ace monster. So, and also a lot of people made some pretty good points that it actually is not bad to have a kaiju in this format, because we're seeing a lot of Adignisters in particular, which is a pretty infamous, Towers deck. Towers being monsters that are unaffected by other card effects, and Adignister, of course, putting out their Arrival Cyber's Adignister, which is unaffected by all other card effects. So being able to distribute it with the Surgical Striker is definitely nice, and of course being able to search out your kaiju option is also very nice. So I will say that there is definitely that nice benefit. I'm definitely going to keep H.A.M.P in the deck for the time being. I know I said, oh, I'm probably just going to cut it out for a second Lightning Storm right away, but no, I definitely played a lot more games with it, and yeah, I can see the versatility of it as well. So I'll stick with it for at least a little bit while longer. I will say this much too, I just thought of this. Speaking of comments that I saw a lot in the last video, and I see pretty much every time I cover this deck, guys, I know, I say this card's name wrong. If you've left this comment, I've seen it literally 24 times before. You're not the first person to tell me. I'm probably just going to keep pronouncing it wrong. Not necessarily even intentionally, although I'm a little tempted to, honestly. But I don't know. We all mispronounce things sometimes. I think we just have to move on with our lives. In any case, as far as the deck itself goes, I'm super liking this build a lot. I really, really like this. I really like this pure going second build. I did think about maybe going into the Therion build a little bit, and possibly trying that out. But honestly, when I played the DPE/adventure build, when I tried that as well, I don't know, I'm not a fan. I'm not as much of a fan of this deck going first, and I think that while tools like the Omni Negate Therion provides are very powerful, I don't know, I personally tend to prefer the pure build a little bit better. I don't know if I actually think it's better or not. I think they're both valid builds. I don't think Therion Sky Striker is a bad deck. Let me just say that. I don't think in general going first Sky Striker decks are bad, but I personally tend to like the ones that go second a little bit more. Those tend to lean a bit more into, I think, the way that Sky Striker likes to control. And also on top of that, I don't know, when you're going first, you're kind of sacrificing the ability to set up your Sky Striker plays in favor of your non-Striker plays. Which again, I don't think is a bad thing necessarily, but it tends to. There's definitely been a lot of games that I'm playing builds like that where it feels like the two engines are conflicting. I felt that a lot when I was playing DP and Sky Striker. So for that reason, and also because I want to OTK, that's why I'm using this build here. So now I haven't really changed anything about it just yet. I'm actually kind of thinking of dropping Nightmare Unicorn for a second Zeke. I kind of talked about this in the latest viewer special that I recorded, where there have been some times where I've seen, okay, I could maybe Nightmare Unicorn to go into access code, but those situations are very few and far between, and you tend to have alternative routes of play aside from that, whereas a second Zeke, Zeke is really important to have, not even just for the banish effect, but also just to be able to get rid of a monster in your main monster zone. Zeke is very important for that. Like if you take control of something of your opponents with Widow Anchor, for example, you know, you can't use any more Sky Striker spells until it's out of the board. So you have to have a Link 2 to go into, but you also still want to be able to go into like your Shizuku to end on, for example. So being able to go into Zeke and being able to do that multiple times per game can definitely come up and can definitely be relevant for a control kind of based deck like this, where you expect games will typically go on a bit longer. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't include a second Zeke, and I'm probably just going to drop Nightmare Unicorn. I could maybe drop Lynne the Light Charmer. This is another pretty niche extra deck card that I haven't really used at all yet, but we'll see. I'll figure it out. If you have any suggestions, you know, feel free to, of course, as always as ever, throw those down in the comment section below. So, alright, let's go ahead and break this build down card by card, as always as ever, and then we'll take a look at some gameplay. We're playing 2 Effect Veiler, 2 Droll and Lockbird. Oh my god, this card has been MVP, by the way. Let me just say that real quick. I love this card in this format. This card is super good right now. 3 Maxx, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Ghost Belle and Haunted Mansion, 3 Sky Striker Ace Raye, 2 Sky Striker Ace Roze, 1 Surgical Striker H.A.M.P, 1 Nibiru, the Primal Being, 1 Harpie's Feather Duster, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 2 Sky Striker Mobilize Engage, 1 Sky Striker Maneuver Afterburners, 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Sky Striker Airspace Area 0, 1 Sky Striker Mecha Modules Multirole, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Sky Striker Mecha Hornet Drones, 3 Sky Striker Mecha Widow Anchor, 1 Sky Striker Mecha Shark Cannon, 3 Sky Striker Mobilize Linkage, and then finally 3 Infinite Impermanence. The extra deck is going to have 2 Sky Striker Ace Kagari, yes, I said that wrong intentionally, 3 Sky Striker Ace Shizuku, 3 Sky Striker Ace Hayate, 1 Sky Striker Ace Kaina, 1 Sky Striker Ace Zeke, 1 Lynne the Light Charmer Lustrous, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Selene Queen of the Master Magicians, and then finally 1 Access Code Talker. That'll round out the list. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some gameplay. Alrighty, the first game we're going to be taking a look at is actually against Flandres, and it's honestly been a minute since I've played against Flandres. I don't know, for as much as I see this deck crop up in our like meta analysis, I just haven't personally been seeing it much on ladder lately, but we definitely like opening Veiler and Droll Lock against this deck, that's for sure, and I'm absolutely going to fire this Droll Lock off as soon as I let this extravagance resolve. It's like I said during the deck profile, Droll and Lockbird, I think this is like, I'm kind of baffled I don't see this card more often. And to be fair, I don't play it in a lot of decks, and there aren't many decks where I have the room for it, but if you're playing like a disruption heavy deck, a control deck, just a deck that plays a lot of hand traps in general like Sky Strikers, I think you should definitely consider Droll and Lock as one of the top disruption cards for this format to add. It counters just about everything. I think Sword Soul Tenny, which to be fair is like the most played, you know, tier 1 deck right now. I think that's just about the only thing that this card doesn't seriously hurt. It hits Braided Despia really hard when you resolve it. It hits Runic really hard when you resolve it. It hits Math Mech really hard when you resolve it. It hits... what am I playing against? I just said earlier, oh, Flandres, of course. It hits this deck really hard when you resolve it. Your opponent's gonna have to chain this Advent of Adventure, you know, to my effect, and then just like not get any more plays after that, really. Because like, yeah, they're not gonna be able to add anything off of like their Eaglin or their Rabina or anything here. So my opponent does actually still have a play from what I remember here. Yeah, they're gonna banish the Dreamtown and then try to add it back with the Token. So that's actually a very, very solid like follow-up, given, you know, the fact that I Droll and Lock them. So I'm gonna have to applaud. You know, I'll give kudos to my opponent. This was a very nice follow-up play, and it just seems to me like my opponent's a very, or at least a fairly decent Flandres player. It's so funny, you know. I still today people say that Flandres is like a brain dead deck, and I'm like, no, like I don't know. It's just. It's a phenomenon. I don't know. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Forever. I should be used to it. People really like the decks they play, and they really don't like the decks they don't play. And I think people will often baselessly insult decks as a result of that. Oh, by the way, yeah, I just casually, you know... Oh no, I drew the Ash Blossom. I was going to say ripping this Feather Duster because I'm the luckiest player in the world, but I actually didn't, so okay, never mind. I mean, I'm still a pretty lucky player. But anyway, yeah. I definitely don't think that, like, I don't know. I think criticisms of decks are like, tend to be pretty wild. I mean, I don't know. I maybe it's always, like, been like this, and I just have not, like, been a part of the Yu-Gi-Oh scene for, like, or rather, because I hadn't been a part of the Yu-Gi-Oh scene for so long, I just wasn't, like, used to this. But it just feels like with Master Duel, like, there's so many people who are just, like, ruthlessly kind of, like, I don't know, insulting decks that they don't play. And it's just like, probably not. Like, there are better uses of our time. Alright, so I'm not really able to, like, well, yeah, I'm in main phase 2, so I definitely can't OTK, is what I was going to say. I'm not really able to OTK this turn, but I've also controlled my opponent down sufficiently. And not only that, I've got the Widow Anchor set up as well, so, and I even get to add one too, good lord. Yeah, having all these negates against Flaundery is definitely a situation we like to be in, so. Yeah, it's definitely too late for Dimension Shift. It's honestly too late for even Rabina to matter. Like, I guess to be fair, if they'd had another Book of Moon, then I think they could have played, yeah, I mean, if they had another Book of Moon, they definitely could have played through my board save. But it doesn't seem like they had it, so. That's going to be a nice win against Flows there. Now let's go to move on to the next duel. Alright, this game is going to be against Sword Soul Tendy that's actually splashing a Math Mech engine. Now, I'd heard about, you know, people playing this deck. I think I saw it on the subreddit, someone was talking about it, and I was like, no way, are people really splashing Math Mech in Sword Soul? And hey, looks like they are, so. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know, actually. That's kind of like when Sword Soul Riddick was a thing. I'm just like, to be fair, Sword Soul is kind of one of those decks that can more easily splash other engines. And it might not seem like it on the surface, but really the thing is that, like, Sword Soul's combos don't typically involve, like, too many other, like, you just, for Moye and Longan, you really only need, like, one other, you know, Sword Soul or Tendy card. And even then, as my opponent's doing here, sometimes you just Emergence for Taya, and, like, that's all you need, so. I guess what I'm getting at is that, like, the deck typically doesn't need too many combo pieces, and is also kind of, like, isolated in what it does. The other thing about Sword Soul combos is that there's no real, like, restrictions that keep you from doing other things, which is another, like, I think the main reason, actually, why they tend to be a pretty easily splashable deck. So, the fact that my opponent added Emergence and not Blackout is pretty interesting here. It leads me to think that face down card might be a Blackout, actually, so. I'm going to start with Linkage, not even really to, like, you know, get a Sky Striker ace in play necessarily, but I want to get more spells in my graveyard. I'm really looking to try to take control of my opponent's Chi-Shao here, because I think my opponent's face down card is Blackout, and that's even why I didn't activate Multirole here, honestly. It's because I didn't want it to get popped by Blackout, although my opponent could have used Blackout to pop my monster and my Widow Anchor when I activated that, so maybe their face-down card isn't Blackout here? I don't know. Either way, I'm definitely going to leak away this Chi-Shao for Zeke before going to Shizuku. This, again, is why, or rather, what I was talking about in the deck profile, where having access to multiple Zekes can be very helpful, because you can see I've got another Widow Anchor in my hand, so their face-down card actually ended up being an Imperm. I'm a little, I don't know, I guess it makes sense. If their hand wasn't that great, I could see why they would want a second Emergence over a Blackout. I was about to say I'm a little, you know, confused why my opponent didn't grab a Blackout there, but I guess, you know, I could see hands where I'd want another Emergence over Blackout. Especially if you've already got Chi-Shao plus Imperm. I think that's reasonable to assume that you can handle most boards or most opponents with 2 monster negates. Yeah, I see it. I see my opponent's perspective. Alright, so they're just going to grab another Taya here. I imagine they want to banish the Moye. Oh no, they banished the Taya out of the grave. I was wondering if they were going to try to banish the Moye and then potentially send an Adhara off the Taya when they go to sync and then maybe try to wheel the Moye back to their hand. I don't know, but I've got a Widow Anchor to take this Taya either way, so not super concerned about it. So here, I actually drew yet another Widow Anchor. And I'm going to spend, you know, or rather, after this Ash Blossom hits my engage, I'm going to spend like a decent amount of time trying to figure out if I can OTK here. Definitely would like a second Zeke here, because again, I don't really have anything I could link away this Taya. Like, I can't really link this Taya away if I take control of it. So, I do have the Area 0 so I can pop it, and that's pretty much going to be my plan. But, again, like I said, you know, a couple of times now, having access to that second Zeke I think would be really nice for situations like this, so. Oh, of course, yeah, I'm going to go for Kagari first and see if I can potentially grab something. Oh, this Linkage for an OTK, but no, the opponent has yet another Imperm. Which I'm not really surprised about, just given, you know, how they were playing their hand. If your opponent is playing a typically, like, you know, combo-based deck where they open kind of dead, I think it's right to assume that your opponent's got a lot of disruption, because it's, you know, if they're not drawing their combo pieces, they're probably just drawing all their disruption, so you shouldn't be mindful to play through that. My opponent actually ended up conceding after I took control of the Taya again. I think probably because they were just sick of their monster getting snatched up by my Widow Anchors, but to be fair, I don't think I really had a way to OTK them there. I didn't really have a second Zeke to go into either, so I did have the Area 0. Like I said, that was my pretty much plan B, I guess, in that regard. But I think we could have, with proper preparation, i.e. another Zeke in the extra, could have maybe played that game a little bit better. So let's just go ahead and move on to the next duel. Alright, so this one's going to be against Numerons, and I remember this duel. I want to show this one because we actually get to stop a Numeron OTK, even though they have limiter removal. We're actually still able to stop them from OTKing, so funnily enough, like, you notice I'm actually going first. I lost this coin flip and my opponent made me go first. I'm like, okay, it's either going to be Sky Striker Mirror, or actually, I assumed it, I remember this now, I assumed it was a Sky Striker Mirror because I'm like, we're in Diamond 1. Surely nobody would still be playing Numeron in Diamond 1, right? Well, how wrong was I? I really don't understand that, frankly. I completely understand wanting to use Numeron to rank up, and I think that's even valid. Like, if you don't have a lot of time, then yeah, it makes sense to use the deck that, you know, has the fastest games. Like, I totally get that. What I don't get is, alright, you're here, you've grinded your way up to Diamond 1. I guess I don't understand the appeal of playing Numeron beyond leveling up, is what I'm getting at here. So, opponent fires off a Droll and Lockbird, which, hey, Sky Striker, funnily enough, is another deck that this card is great against, because here I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, I could Raye, and maybe go for Hayate and dump something, but there's not really much point to doing that, because, like, I guess I could have Hayate'd, dumped Engage and added it with Kagari anyway. Whatever. And added it anyway. But I don't know. It's just like, that would have used so many resources. And my other line of thinking here is, if I leave the Raye up, right, then if I'm playing against Numeron specifically and I leave the Raye up, I can go into Kaina during my opponent's turn and stop one of their gates from attacking and then not lose. That's generally my thought process here. So it looks really weird to just summon Raye and leave her in attack mode, but I think in this scenario, it's actually the best play I had. So, again, also, assuming I was going against Numerons, which, excuse me, to be fair, I, again, wasn't really thinking I was thinking it was probably going to be Sky Striker. But even against Sky Striker in this scenario, I just like having the versatility, because, like, if they go for Hayate, for example, I can kind of that, and that would really mess my opponent up if they weren't able to attack with their Hayate that they just went into. So, yeah, again, ending on Raye might look a little bit weird, but I think exactly in the scenario here where I got Droll unlocked, that's what I want to do. So, as my opponent is putting cards back with Mallet, I'm like, okay, this is definitely Numeron. For some reason, my opponent has decided they want to play Numeron in Diamond 1. Okay, that's fine. We can play this game. So, like I said, I can just kind of one of their gates and stop them from OTK. I'm going to wait to do it. I'm not going to do it right away. I'll do it after the first attack here. I'll let them get that off. And they actually had a limiter in response to the second attack. And this was honestly not great activation timing for my opponent. Because see, here's the thing. Limiter removal is an effect that changes attack points. That means it can be activated during the damage step. I can't activate Raye during the damage step. Now, when they attacked, if they had, like, passed priority to me, I would have used the Raye's effect, and then they wouldn't have had to have wasted their limiter removal here. But, you know, because, again, limiter removal can activate during the damage step, Raye cannot, so I would have had to have activated it before we got to the damage step. Is just what I get. Yeah, basically, my opponent did not need to fire this off. So yeah, here, like I said, I'm going to use Kaina's effect. I'll stop one of the gates from attacking. I'm going to take some damage here from the gate attacking into my Kaina, but lest we forget, I get to bring Raye back because one of my Sky Striker aces got destroyed. So now I just summoned Raye in defense mode, and the opponent just conceded at that point, even though, like, they could have gone into, I'm assuming they're playing some amount of, like, Appaloosa or Mega Clops or Max, like, one of those. They could have gone for the ranked up Numeron gate too. Like, there's, I don't know. My opponent had plays, but they decided to concede after they didn't get the easy win, which I don't know. I don't really know why you're going for that when you're already in Diamond 1, but to each their own. I guess I won't fault people for enjoying the game how they enjoy it. So we do have one more game to take a look at though. Let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. And our final duel for this video, we're going to be playing against an Adamantipator deck. So definitely gonna hope we open some amount of disruption, since we're obviously planning on going second here. And we definitely want to disrupt them before they get to their big, scary end board. We did open an Imperm, and very, very unfortunately, that's actually going to be enough here. We're going to Imperm this Seeker as soon as it comes down. Normal Summon Seeker is usually a sign of a relatively dead hand. Although they could still Special Researcher and Excavate with that. That is something they could do here, but they don't. So they're just going to set a card before passing. Now, I actually have an OTK with this hand, and I don't even have to clear my opponent's monster. Normally, because I've got the Raye plus Linkage, and that is an OTK but it has to be on a clear board, right? Because it is exactly 8,000. But because I actually have Roze in my hand, that's actually enough to OTK. I just special summon Roze on the specifically the last summon off of the second Linkage, because if we do it at any point before that, we're gonna have a monster in our main monster zone, and then we can't use Linkage. So start by battling over the Seeker with the Raye here. I wanted to show this game to show off a potential other OTK line, although from what I remember, my opponent does actually have disruption for this, so then we're going to go for Hayate. I'm still going to send Roze, so we still get the attack boost off of the Linkage here. Alright, now let's try to wheel this Linkage back to our hand, but the opponent is going to have an Imperm in order to negate that, so I thought about potentially specialing Roze here and just getting in a bunch of damage anyway, but now I'll just save the Roze in my hand. That's fine. I'll use it next turn, maybe. Definitely, obviously still going to attack directly here. And then go to Shizuku, and I've got a Widow Anchor, so the fact that my opponent's hand was kind of dead before, and I've got a Disruption tool now, I'm going to have to hope this is enough, but there's a pretty decent chance it will be. But yeah, like I said, if my opponent had not played Imperm, then I could have used a Linkage, gone for Shizuku, would have met 2,500, and yes, my opponent would have had 1,200 life points left, but when the Shizuku summoned, I would have been able to special summon the Roze and then attack directly with her. So, yeah, in the right situations, even if your opponent has something on board, you can still OTK. It's mainly, though, Raye plus Linkage is what you're looking for. That's going to be exactly 8,000 damage. And for those who haven't seen the deck profile for Season 13, the first game in that video, we actually performed that OTK. So if you want to see it played out in action, definitely go ahead and check out that video. Again, it's going to be the first game on Sky Striker Season 13 deck profile. Alright, so my opponent's going to drop a Guardian, or a Quackmere Guardian here to blow up my Shizuku, and then when I try to get Raye back, they get to blow that up as well. Or they get to negate the effect, but it doesn't matter here because I've still got, of course, Raye and Roze in hand. And my opponent actually ends up just conceding anyway, because I think they realize, like, oh, they added Engage with the Shizuku, so, like, they definitely have a way to get to Raye, a way to continue their plays in general. So, yeah, our opponent just ended up conceding at that point. I would have liked to have played the end of the game out, but again, we're in Diamond 1, so this is... the fact that my opponent stuck around for this long was definitely, more than I could ask for anyway. So that is going to do it for these games for today's video. With Sky Striker here, I'm really, really liking this deck, and I definitely plan on trying it out a bit more in the future as well. So I might even get in another video with this deck this season. Who knows? Definitely let me know in the comments if you want to see that. But in any case, let's just go ahead and move now to the outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now, so without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.